in a NPR article about Duval County. And the quote is, arguably the single most important county in the single most important state in the most important election in a century. And that quote is by Dean Black, the Republican Duval County chair. And that was in an NPR article. So we're kind of really in the epicenter of, well, obviously one of the most important states. As I put in the invitation video, if you may have seen that, a Republican hasn't won the presidency without winning Florida since, I think, 1924. So Florida is really important, and we've been really working hard on Florida, but with 82 days left, just like our new Vice President, Ms. Harris said, it's time to get to work. And so part of today's meeting is about how you can get involved, and I know a lot of you are already involved, but we'll talk a little bit more about how you can get involved. And we're also going to profile very quickly 3 candidates, give you reasons to be involved and reasons to really want to get people engaged. So a couple things we'll be asking you to do today: texting, calling, postcarding, a number of things, some things you're familiar with. But you know, I saw in an email the other day that Elizabeth had said that she sent 700 texts in an hour. And that amazed me. And so when I was talking to her on the phone the other day, I asked her about that. And she said, yeah, 700 texts that hour. She said, since then, I had an hour where I did 2,000 texts. So, and these are masks, so nobody knows it's Elizabeth, but people can reply and Elizabeth can engage in them and tell them to answer their questions or whatever the case may be. And so there's just a lot of ways to get involved, whether you want to get on the phone and text or do postcards. 82 days left in the most important county, in the most important state, in the most important election in a century. You know, one of the things that we've been working hard on, as most of you are aware, is vote by mail. And this is important, and we've shared this before, but cold Democrats, those who rarely vote but are registered Democrats, who vote by mail are 50% more likely to vote. Warm Democrats who vote primarily in presidential elections, but not all of them, are 25% more likely to vote if they vote by mail. And newly registered Democrats are 42% more likely to vote if they're registered to vote by mail. And so that's data as to why we focused on that and are still focused on aspects of that. So there's lots of things we can do. We'll share how you can get involved. Now, one of the things that we're going to ask you to do, if you're just going to move your cursor, you can probably see at the bottom there's a chat, a little chat box, looks like a little window. If you open that up and just say hello, type hello, you can, you might see Elizabeth's names and it might say privately, so hit the drop down and then you can see where it says everyone. And that texts to everyone, and you can just say hello or say, you know, go Biden or whatever you want to say. Just pull the chat box up, send a chat out, because that's where you're going to be able to text questions or chat questions. And also, if there's something that we're talking about, texting or calling or postcarding, or social media or letters to the editor that you want to do, you can enter that in the chat box as well. And one of the things that we'll be asking you to think about, you know, when I lived in California earlier in the 2000s, I made phone calls from California into Ohio for the Kerry campaign. And we all know people around the country that are probably like-minded. And if they're living in California, they don't need to text or call anybody in California. California is going to go Biden-Harris big. And there are other states. Florida is the linchpin. Florida is critical. And so if we have some like-minded friends or family around the country, I would encourage you to kind of find an activity that you like, get involved in it, learn how to do it, whether it's texting or calling or whatever. And after you're familiar with it, try and engage your friends around the country or your family and get them involved. They want to help, and Florida is a great place to help. It's a great place to apply focus and energy because it's just so important. So you can sign up in the chat box today. You can also go to Beaches Activists, that's plural activists because there's more than one of us, and sign up there. Just go to the Get Involved. Right when you land on the web page, you'll see 3 panels. One of them is Get Involved. Click that. That'll take you to the page where you can sign up for anything that you want to do. Sign up for more and get involved. And let's bring this home. Let's bring it home. So we're going to hear from 3 of our band members today, talking just a few minutes, a quick overview of some candidates. And then we'll get into talking about kind of what the activities are that you can get involved in and how it works so that you can make informed decisions about which one is best for you, or which 3 are best for you, or which 5 are best for you. And so that's kind of the agenda today. So John's gonna kick it off by giving us an overview for what is now the Biden-Harris ticket. And just from my personal view, a great pick. And I just so look forward to Joe Biden being our president, Kamala being our vice president, and Kamala following Joe as our subsequent president. So anyway, John, take it away. Tell us about Joe and Kamala.
Okay, I'm just getting myself organized here. I am fired up. The Joe Biden-Kamala Harris ticket is balanced, it's relevant, and it's exciting. Democrats are going to win this election in November and restore dignity, compassion, and fairness to American government. Much as the American people have been infected by COVID-19, American democracy has been sickened by Trumpism. Hatreds and division and self-dealing have flourished, while concerns for the greater community and the urgent needs of the less fortunate have withered. Joe Biden is the antidote. Joe Biden will lead us back to responsible government, sensitive to the people, and resolute in the face of the many daunting challenges confronting us as a nation. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is a thoroughly decent, sane, and honorable man. He will be the single most experienced president ever to occupy the White House. He has served almost his entire professional life in the United States Senate, having been elected from Delaware at the age of 29. In his 36 years in the Senate, he spent 12 years apiece as either chairman or ranking member of both the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He then served 8 years as vice president in the Obama administration, becoming what President Obama has characterized as the finest vice president America has ever seen. Joe Biden is approachable and empathetic. He was raised in an Irish Catholic family in Scranton, Pennsylvania. The family fell on hard times in the 1950s and had to move in with Biden's maternal grandparents, the Finnegans, for several years. Joe attended Catholic primary schools and Archmere Academy, a Catholic prep school in Claymont, Delaware, where he was a standout football player. Joe struggled with stuttering as a child and as a young adult, and admits that it still affects him today at moments of exhaustion. He earned a bachelor's degree from the University of Delaware, where he also played varsity football as a defensive back, and subsequently earned a law degree from Syracuse University. Biden later remarked that he found law school, quote, the biggest bore in the world. The political writer Howard Feynman has said, Biden is not an academic. He's not a theoretical thinker. He's a great street politician. He comes from a long line of working people in Scranton, auto salesmen, car dealers, people who know how to make a sale. He has that great Irish gift. Biden has been visited by family tragedy multiple times in his life. Shortly after his election to the Senate in 1972, his first wife and one-year-old daughter were killed in an automobile accident while Christmas shopping without Biden along. Biden's sons, Beau and Hunter, survived with relatively minor injuries. Grieving, Biden considered resigning to care for the boys, but then Senate Majority Leader Mike Mansfield apparently persuaded him to remain on the job. To be at home every day for his young sons, Biden began commuting by Amtrak 90 minutes each way from his Delaware home to Washington, D.C., a practice he continued throughout his Senate career. Train conductors were said to occasionally delay the departure of the last train of the night to Wilmington in order to accommodate the senator's schedule. The Wilmington station was rededicated in 2011 as the Joseph R. Biden Jr. Railroad Station. In 2015, Biden's son, Beau, succumbed to brain cancer at the age of 46. Beau had been the Attorney General of Delaware and was considered the frontrunner for the 2016 Democratic nomination for governor of Delaware. Biden cited the tragic loss of his son as a basis for his decision not to seek the presidency in 2016. Joe Biden is running for president in 2020 on a simple message. America is not Trump. I'm not Trump. I'll lead us out of this. We can build back better. Biden's decades of service in the Senate and his leadership role in the Obama administration are invaluable assets for the next 4 years as we rebuild so many of the institutions of government. An EPA that actually cares about air and water quality, a Department of Education that wants to improve rather than eliminate public education, and a Justice Department that cares about the rule of law. Biden is committed to science-based solutions to COVID-19 and the climate crisis. He is committed to racial, social, and economic justice for all Americans. He is committed to affordable health care for all, including a Medicare public option. He is committed to stopping the epidemic of gun violence. He is committed to an immigration policy that reflects America's highest values. And now he has chosen Kamala Harris as his running mate. What an inspiring ticket. Let's get out there and win this critical election, the single most urgent political imperative of our lifetimes. Go to joebiden.com and donate. Go to joebiden.com and volunteer. And then campaign like your lives as you know them depend on it. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank
Nice.
you.
Thank you.
That was
Nice.
awesome, John. I think one of the things I enjoyed about that is I learned some things about Joe Biden I didn't know, which is interesting. You know, after he and Kamala talked the other day and then Trump did his thing, a commentator noted, which I thought was fascinating, that Biden and Kamala, mainly Kamala, talking about Trump, told truths. Trump, later that day, talking about Biden and Kamala, told nothing but lies. Do we need to really know anymore? I mean, that to me was so illustrative of the situation we're in. Anyway, John, that was awesome. Thank you. Now Nancy's gonna tell us about Donna Deegan, who lives like 4 houses from me. So take it away, Nancy.
Thank you so much, Hank. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Nancy Stotts and moved to Atlantic Beach about 2.5 years ago. And I'm honored to be able to say I know Donna Deegan. I think a lot of you know Donna already. But I'm going to start with the bad news first because I want to end on a positive note. Carol, if you could put the first, so we are in the 4th Congressional District. So the map to the left is District 4. And this was created by that famous political map maker, Mr. Jerry Mander. And bad political joke, but it is an extremely gerrymandered district is the point. So they have basically eliminated all of Western Jacksonville from the district in terms of the voter population. This puts a Democrat in a very rough spot for this particular district. In fact, originally, the DNC said, you can't even try for this, it's too hard. But true to Donna, she said, I'm either running in my home district or I'm not running at all. She's very principled. So they said, okay, fine, but you're not going to win. And she said, okay, fine, watch me. And I don't even need you. So the next slide, please. So this is the truth. There was no Democratic challenger back in 2014. I hope this is true. I wasn't here at the time. I wasn't following, but hopefully these facts are true. In 2016, Rutherford handily beat Dave Bruderly 70% to 27%. And in 2018, beat Gus Salmont 65 to 32, which, while that's still a very wide margin, you see his percent of the vote is continuing to drop. So we now are in 2020, and if you think about it, if 16% of the electorate shifted, it would theoretically be a tie, 49 each. Is that possible to happen? Of course it's possible. This is strange times, folks, really strange times. Is it probable? I actually think it is, because this year has been like no other year for many reasons. So the turnout, the energy, all of it is going to matter. But the most important thing is to think about Donna and why you want to support her. So very briefly, her campaign started 9 months ago exactly today on November 13th. So it's only been 9 months that she's been out there. And she comes from Jacksonville. She was born and raised here, went to Bishop Kenny High, started out in Tallahassee on television, and then moved to First Coast News. Both her husbands worked at First Coast News, actually. Her first husband, Dan Hicken, and then she married Tim Deegan, who we're mostly familiar with now, in 2002. She has 2 children. She started her career immediately out of college, and this was her love. This is what she loved doing, was being in television. Everyone knows, though, the sad story that she was diagnosed in 1999 with breast cancer as a woman in her late 30s. So 2 small children. She went through the treatment. That's when she really realized the incredible healthcare disparities out there. But unlike most people who would be, you know, basically overwhelmed just fighting their disease, she decided to do something about it, developed the Donna Marathon, and the rest is history. What I love about Donna is what you see is what you get. She is a good person. She cares about people. She has a fondness for saying, I support people over politics. And most importantly, she lives it. She doesn't just say it. And she also loves to say, watch what people do, not what people say. And she is a doer, and she gets stuff done. And I love that about her. She has written 2 books in addition to everything else in her life, one of which talks about going from fear to love. And I would say this campaign, if I had to put it in a nutshell, this election, we need to get from fear to love, in a nutshell. And I believe Donna has the best chance of anyone to do it this year. But you need to go to her website. You need to volunteer, consider hosting a virtual fundraiser, like Hank said, with your friends and family from outside of here. We need outside money because unfortunately, there's only so many people here in the 4th district. And also, you know, the DNC has not been super friendly with giving to her because they see this as strong Republican territory. So our job is a tall order, folks, but we can do it. But everyone has to really mobilize, and we're at the 11th hour already. So please, please, please go to Donna Deegan for Congress. And there was a slide, Carol, in terms of the order of things, or that's up on the BAM website, right? That has what order. So her preference is, you know, donations, then lit drops, then texting, then phone banking, and then finally flag waving. So it's all hands on deck, folks. And
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy. That was really inspiring. And you know, if we ever had a candidate to take this seat, this is our chance. She's an extraordinary candidate, an extraordinary woman. She's well known. She's well liked. She's respected. This is our chance, and we've got to get that man, I won't say his name, out of that seat. Out of that seat. And she would just be a great representative. It would be an honor to have her representing us, and let's do what we can to help her. Thank you, Nancy. And again, I see her almost every day. She lives on our street. Steve lives on the street closer to her than I do. And she's on the phone and you hear her. She's talking the campaign. She's working the campaign as she's walking her dog, as she's walking down the street. She's fired up and she's ready to go, as somebody we all know and like used to say. You fired up? You ready to go? Yeah, we need to be fired up and ready to go for Donna Deegan. All right. We have one last candidate, and probably a candidate that we know the least about. And so this is really important. And Judy's going to tell us about Joshua Hicks. Take it away, Judy.
All right, here I am, I guess. So Joshua Hicks is running for the seat that is currently held by Cord Bird. And I'm not sure why I'm not, okay. But anyway, I don't know, it's still you, Hank. My camera's on, so I'm not sure why that is. But in any case, one of the exciting things, before I came on this call this evening, I was on the call with the Blue Vol group from Jacksonville, Duval Democrats, and it was really exciting to hear Democrats from around the state talking about the enthusiasm and the activism that has been going on. And it really is something that I think is inspiring. And we do have an opportunity this year to do something that we haven't done in a long time. So Joshua is definitely part of that. One of the small pieces of information that's recently come out is there's a New York Times web connection where you can click on your zip code to see which candidates have received more in donations. And actually in 32233, where we live, the Biden campaign has out fundraised the current president, whose name I can't really bring myself to say. So that gives us hope for down ballot races. And I'm going to start it and stop it. So I'm not sure why I'm not on this video. But Joshua, even if he wasn't running against Cord Bird, who is the incumbent and calls himself the gun lawyer and has been a proponent of free access to handguns, an opponent of a women's right to choose, against the environment, very, just certainly not in keeping with most of the values that the Beaches activist movement and other progressive groups hold. And I think even if Joshua Hicks was not running against a candidate like him, he would still be someone we'd want to support. He's worked for nonprofits throughout his career. He went to public schools, and the work he's done reflects his values. He's committed to the citizens in District 11, and some of the priorities that he has are fighting for educators and our public schools, supporting increases in access to health care through Medicaid expansion, and that would include adding 800,000 low-income families throughout Florida, where we have we have among the highest uninsured rates in the nation. He's also a supporter of unions and workers and believes in increasing the minimum wage. He promotes equality and would support the Competitive Workforce Act, which is a state human rights ordinance. And he's also a supporter of equal pay for equal work and ending workplace discrimination. He's a gun sense candidate, which means that he is supportive of universal background checks and common sense gun laws. And he's received 15 endorsements, among them from the Sierra Club and, of course, you know, Jacksonville Now. And he is a huge supporter of science and climate science, and recognizing that Florida, with such, you know, a huge coastline and so much at risk with climate change, would really benefit from a much more sensible approach through legislative work to environmental issues. So he's been working very hard. He has an excellent staff. Hopefully you can see, I don't see his website up there, but it is votejoshuahicks.com. I will be joining him on Saturday at 9:30 on A1A and Atlantic Boulevard for sign waving, and he's also doing literature drops. And he really is an excellent candidate, and I believe he does have a good chance, but he certainly needs the support of all of us. Additionally, you know, when we think about how we can get involved, BAM's Get Involved page has access to all the active participation for all of the Democrats. And we know that as we move through the primary, there are a lot of other Dems throughout the city that will benefit from our support. So hopefully we can all get out there, and if we can't actually vote for them, we certainly can support them financially. You know, the other organization I'm involved in, Jacksonville Now, recently started a PAC. We've already contributed over $5,000 to local candidates. And, you know, we hope all of you will be generous in your donations and your volunteer efforts. Please look at that site, that Get Involved link on the BAM page, to see all the things you can do for all of the Democrats who are running this year. And thank you guys very much for all your work that we've already done and all the work we have ahead of us.
Thanks, Judy. And thanks for John, Nancy, and Judy. And Joshua, I remember, you know, seeing his presentation to us, and I was really impressed with Joshua. I think he's a great candidate. Again, we need to get the candidate or the current incumbent who shall not be named out of that seat and get Joshua into that seat. Same with Donna, same with Joe. And so those are just three examples of great Democratic candidates that our Get Involved page on our website, and some of the activities that we're about to go over you can serve. A reminder, as you hear about these various activities, and we're going to go through them quickly, if you want to get involved in them, just go to the chat box. So again, you kind of move your cursor. For most of us, it's at the bottom. You'll see the word chat and a little balloon. Click on that. If it says Elizabeth, if it says to Elizabeth Sams, there's a little drop down. Click the drop down and you can click to everybody, or you can just send it to Elizabeth. But either way, if we're talking about postcarding and you want a postcard, put your name and either your email or your phone number in there and say postcard. And that way we'll then reach out to you for the activity that you're interested in. And of course, you can go to our website, go to the Get Involved page, and for any of the candidates that we just talked about, or just getting involved with BAM, where we are then supporting those candidates and supporting Democrats overall with our campaign. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about phone banking. And Hannah Moore is going to walk us through how easy that is and how fun it is and how much that can help get the right people in the right seats. So Hannah Moore, tell us about phone banking.
Okay, so phone banking, everyone's like, I hate calling and I don't want to call and don't make me call and how do I call? It's really easy. We do it together. And I do it in the Zoom. And loads of you have been on the training. I see you in the Zoom. And you know I make it fun for you. And we have a good time. And last week, we called 400 people in District 11. We have cleared out pretty much all of District 13. I mean, we'll come back for a second touch because there's not everybody who registered, but the impact is so significant. And I should have done some stats, but I didn't. But we know that the postcards that we all send, and you're better at sending than the Beaches Democrats, but we all send out postcards and then we follow up with a phone call, and that is a 16% uplift for people registering to vote by mail. And we live in a county where the elections are won in the margins. So, and I can see the impact of the work that we're having right now because we are kicking ass 22 points ahead of the Republicans in vote by mail and early voting. And that is unprecedented. It's just unprecedented. So do not think the call is useless or the action and activity is useless. And in fact, it's an incredibly useful, important piece of work. So we're looking at it like a public service because we're reminding people to stay safe. And it's a backup plan. Now, personally, I'm going to go to the polls on the second day of early voting for the general because I will be able to take mailing it in because I am a little bit anxious about it. But I did mail it in for this, and I did check and see if my ballot was collected and approved, and it was. So that was great. So I know it works, and I know it works really well. So don't believe the hype, and that's one of the pushbacks we get, like, oh, it's unsafe and all this. And I'm like, no, it's the safest way to do it. And we text them and we speak to them. So how I do it. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I gotta just get to my link now. All right, so I need my, hello. Where's my phone bank link? Oh, this is so annoying. Bear with me.
Hannah, while you look for that, I've done phone banking with Hannah. It is fun and it's really easy. The app you use, it just is boom. And to be honest, you're not going to talk to that many people.
Yeah, one in 10.
Yeah, you're going to leave great messages, and Hannah makes it really fun. It's really efficient. It's really effective.
We have a really good time.
Take it away, Hannah.
Okay, sorry, I should have been more prepared, but I was, okay, so one of the ways you can get to the link is you go to the Duval Democratic Club, but I give you a link. You're doing it with me is really the best way to do it. I promise you it's the best way to do it. I'm not blowing my own horn. I just know it's the most effective way of doing it. And it's effective because I don't leave you alone. You're in the bank with me. Nancy, you do it with me. So you know, speak to the point.
It is so much fun that she has to stop us.
I hold up a sign. I say 11:30, we're done.
I am serious. I love looking at other people going, oh, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Mute everyone else, and it is really, really fun. It's people are really friendly and nice, and I've done different phone banking for different things, and I don't know how you generate your list, but like when I was calling the returning citizens, it got a little, dicey, I would say. But this is so fun. People are so nice and so friendly. And like she said, about 1 in 8 or 1 in 10 that you actually talk to, and it just makes your whole day.
Yeah, it's really very good. All right, so I don't know why I can't open my link. I'm like being really incredibly stupid. All right, so there are links on here. So I've gone into Duval Dems to get to this point. All right, so if you're gonna do it on your own, this is how you're gonna find it, phone banking. If you're gonna do it with me, I send you an email with all the links, and it looks like this. The email looks like this.
Hannah,
yeah.
if you were to go to beachesactivist.com and the Get Involved page, your link is on our page.
Oh, how marvelous. I should have done my homework a little bit better. Okay, let me just quickly do that.
If that'll help. And let me just say, as a former phone banking hater, part of what's fun about this is the tools have improved, so it's not like you're using your cell phone to call some random person. All of this is through software that's on your computer, and your phone, you're speaking on it, but the person who you're talking to is not looking at your number.
So where's my link?
Get involved.
All right, here, look good. We're gonna have a whole process here. Okay, get involved.
Get involved.
Okay.
And then scroll down, past the candidates, and here you see dialing for Dems.
Dialing for Dems. Oh, here we are. Okay, go to the Zoom link, same link every week. Wednesday night. Oh,
And there is the account thing.
Where's the account thing? Zoom link.
Up above, account.
Here, dialing for Dems. That's the Zoom.
No, that's the account. That's where you click
Oh,
it.
okay. Okay.
Trust
Open
me.
PPM. All right, here we go. So here we go. So you get into this and you get a little get started and you need to create an action ID. I have mine. So I'm not going to show you how to do that. This literally takes you about, I don't know, 6 minutes, something like that. So now my focus is I've got 2 phone banks running every week. I've got the general one that's through the Duval Dems, and how our lists are cut, Nancy, they're all through Kim Glasgow. Nobody goes anywhere but through the data director. And that keeps the lists accurate, fresh, they get scrubbed. And now that's coordinated with the coordinated campaign, which is quite amazing. So they scrub the list every day. We get the results of that. And whether that's in our phone bank or not, I think Kim has to upload that. Okay, so how it works is we get the phone number of the person and her name and her age, and we call. So I'm not gonna call now because it's a little bit late to call, but were I to call, I would ring and she would ideally answer. And I would say, hello, this is Hannah from the Duval Democrats. Is Kathleen there? I kind of play with this a bit because I like to say who I am and that I'm calling on behalf of the Democrats. So if they're not interested, they're like, oh, no, I hang up. Or if they are like, oh, yeah, hi. And I say, I'm one of your neighbors and we sent you a postcard about voting by mail. Did you receive it? Oh, no, I don't. And sometimes I joke, I'm like, it's straight to the recycling pipeline, but it lodges in their head. And she says, oh yeah, I put it over there, or I did nothing with it. And I say, oh, well, do you want to sign up for vote by mail with me right now? And she says, how long is that going to take? And I say, it takes us about 2 minutes. And then I do this with them. And I think this is how everyone does it now. I say, I'm going to do this with you. Go to standforvote.com, put in your zip code. Are you looking at this screen? Yes, I'm looking at this screen. I describe it. Click the first box, vote by mail. It brings us to the Duval Supervisor of Elections. Then I proceed. Are you doing it for yourself? Yes. I say, you know, you can do it for everybody in your house. And she's like, oh, maybe I will. Okay. I do it with her. I say, okay, put in your name, put in your date of birth. And I always joke. I always say something like, oh, this is people do it wrong. They don't put the slash in and you have to put the whole year and then you just put the house number in, right? And you're gonna get to the next thing. Are you with me? Yes, you're with me. And she's thrilled. So then she does it with me and I say, put in your email address. I say, they have to have your email address because they're gonna confirm that you got your vote by mail ballot this way. And then she says, do I have to put in my phone number? And I say, they already have it. That's why I'm calling you. So then she's not too worried about that. People get funny about their phone numbers. I ask if she's any of these things. She'll respond, go to the next one. Then I tell her specifically, you want to do all elections and it's good for 2 years. And I do this probably twice each week. So that's not insignificant. That's a lot of voters I've touched doing this and they're thrilled. They're genuinely thrilled. They say, great, I'm gonna do my husband, I'm gonna do my wife, I'm gonna do my kid. So they're absolutely thrilled. So that's how that goes. So then after I've had my conversation with her, and there's lots of options here, which I'm not gonna go through right now, but there's lots of options. But if you're in my training, I will go through them with you. And it's very straightforward. So if, for example, they're hostile, and hostile means they could be the most delightful, sweet old lady, but she says, I'm voting for Trump. She's hostile, okay? So we go to this box here. This is, sorry, hang on a second. In the scenario I gave you, I spoke to her and she was terrific. So I go down here, they signed up after receiving the postcard, I patched them through. We don't patch through, we do it on the weekends. So the patching through is nonsense for us on the weekends. In the week, you can patch through. I then, if I signed her up the way that I told you, I do yes for collected, because that's like we went to her house like we used to do in the canvassing and we're taking away the piece of paper. So yes, we're collected. If she said to me, I'll do it later, that's maybe, because we don't trust her. We're going to check on her. No, I will not vote by mail. I don't believe in it. I go to the polls adamantly and no, we give them a no. Already enrolled, sometimes you get those because of the postcards. I've had that. So then we do already enrolled. The other scenario is, of course, you can't reach them, which is 9 out of the 10 phone calls. You won't reach them, and you're going to get a whole bunch of things. Not home, refused, that's, we don't tend to do that. Deceased, that does happen. Moved, that does happen. Spanish, that does happen. Left message. I always leave a voicemail, and because I use my cell phone, I always text them. So everybody in my group, I text them the text that I use, and they can then adapt it for themselves. Regardless, I text them. Even if it's funky, I text them because it doesn't matter if I text them. And that has huge impact. I promise you, we get thumbs ups back. We get people saying, oh, I'm so glad you texted. I didn't have your number. I had a problem. I've moved to Texas, but I'm still registered in Florida. What should I do? I go through all that stuff with them. Every week I have at least 2 queries like that. We never, if I text, I never say text. Kim wants it to be left a message because text is from the text banks, okay? Hostile, I told you about, they could be the nicest person in the world or you could get some FUs. They are hostile. Texted, never say it because it's not relevant. Do not text, I never lie to them. If they say, don't text me, I can't lie to them. We're not gonna not text them. We don't have the capacity to take them off the list, and Josh's campaign might text them, Donna's campaign might text them. I just got a text from Kamala. You know, they're gonna get texted. So I don't wanna lie to them. I never say do not text. So that's how I do it. And I do 2 phone banks now. I've got our general phone bank, but the real deal is, I'm gonna stop sharing. The real deal is the seniors over 65s are going for Biden. Hillary lost seniors in Florida by more than 10 points. And now we're saying it's neck and neck, if not an advantage to Biden. This election, as much as we want everybody else to vote, this election will be won by seniors voting the right way. And now that Trump is threatening Social Security, the message is really clear. Seniors have been absolutely abhorrently, thrown under the bus by this current administration. So it's a really strong offer. And I've been working with a Florida organizing group called Florida Seniors Organizing Council, run by this guy, John Bauman, who's actually Bowser from Shana Nas, totally delightful guy, president of Social Security Works PAC. And Duval is actually really far behind in this work. And it's not different work. It's the exact same work. It's just targeting them a little bit more aggressively. And that kind of dovetails into some of the stuff that Daniel Henry's doing with postcards to over seniors, over 65s to register to vote by mail. So it's quite a big piece of work. And I do that on a Sunday. And really that's for people who, I've got about 7 new canvassers on that phone call alone. And I've got Leslie Lynn from the senior center joining me. She doesn't do anything like that. I mean, she's terribly active in her life, don't get me wrong, but she wants to do this particular phone bank. So that targeting is really important too. So my volunteers for that are people who are like, hang on a minute, we need to get active in this. So there's 2 phone banks. There's one that's general, and we're rolling through the different, areas. Like we've done 13, there's about 200 calls left in 13. So I'm gonna have 2 people do that. We've got about not even 200, whatever there is in 13. We're doing 11. There's very few calls left in 11. We run out of numbers religiously. We run out of numbers. And Elizabeth put me with Dr. Todd Sachs, and we've got about 4 people from California calling. We've got 2 people from Kentucky calling. I've got people from New York calling. So it's a really good time. I promise you, it's a good time. Everyone's in shock that it's a good time, but it's a good time.
It's a good time.
It's a good time. So anyway, that's me. I've seen some questions in the chat. I'm going to say, send me an email and I will put you on my list. Okay. And I'm doing my email tomorrow for Saturday and Sunday.
Hannah, we appreciate
So awesome,
so much.
Hannah.
Thank you. Oh, we do have a really good time. I promise you. We're trying to do some for Lene, for Josh. You know, well, I can accommodate lots of different phone banks in my phone bank because the method won't change. If you don't want to do it on the screen, I can't do it with you. It has to be on the screen.
So thanks so much, Hannah, for all that you do. And I actually saw, I'm dating myself further than my my video. I saw Sha-na-na years ago.
You will love the bows. He's the best.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's
No
so much
doubt.
fun. He sings us out. You know, he's so much fun.
I bet. So that's phone banking. You can sign up in the chat window, and as Hannah heard, put in your email address, and she will connect with you. It is a lot of fun. It's hugely valuable. She mentioned the vote by mail. We talked about that data early. Cold Democrats, 50% more likely to vote. Warm Democrats, 25% more likely to vote. Newly registered Democrats, 42% more likely to vote if they're voting by mail. Those are huge numbers and really impactful as we think about Joshua, we think about Donna, we think about Joe and Kamala, all important. Anyway, we've talked a little bit about texting. Jane is going to tell us more about texting. Jane, text us away.
All right. You know, Hannah, I have to say, we have much more fun than you do. We have
I rise to that challenge.
We've been texting a very tight group for maybe 6 weeks now. And I think Elizabeth has told us that she can send 1,000 texts in like 10 minutes. And the beauty of it is Kim Glasgow is our spearhead and our mentor. And we have, people will call us Marxists, you know, or they can use the F word. And we tailor some of our responses, and we have homework. After we send 1,000, we might get 20 people who say, I've signed up, or leave me alone, or stop. But it's fun during 1 hour because we compare notes. Also, the last go around was for Angie Nixon, and I think we sent over 4,000 texts about her. But anyone who wants to sign up, it's very easy. We have canned responses, and it's very effective, and people are happy. They thank us for going to them. Well, I have the floor for a minute. I wanted to thank Nancy for her letter in warding off the Republican convention, gathering 600 physicians signing up to voice an opinion not to come here. And also, a bunch of us have been out on the corner of 3rd and Atlantic for Donna. It's a good turnout. So the BAM is bringing us all together. It's a joy. But please sign up. We'll take on more people. And that's all I have.
And thanks, Jane. And you can do so much. Again, your number is masked. So they may be replying to the text, but they don't know it's you. They're not seeing your number. Exactly. And it can be really efficient, really effective. And it can be for candidates. It can be vote by mail. There's all sorts of ways that texting, and you can do it with the group, with Jane. You can do it on your own. You can do it while you're watching television. You can do it while you're taking a bath. Don't drop the phone. You can do it. You can do it anytime, anywhere. And you know, some people are doing it while they're driving, but don't tell anyone. Anyway, texting anytime except when you're driving is good fun. All right, so that's texting.
Thanks, Hank.
Anytime. And another fun group is our postcarders. And I remember when we would come back from, you know, when we were canvassing and knocking on doors, and we'd come back to wherever it was over there on Atlantic, the the breakfast deli place. Anyway, Panera Bread, thank you. We'd come back, we'd been out knocking on doors, and you'd walk in and you'd hear the laughter and you'd see the smiles, and they're just postcarding away. And so I know the postcarders have fun, and we also are very aware of the effectiveness of postcarders. So Brenda, tell us more about the fun of postcarding and how people can get involved. And remember, you can use the chat to sign up for texting, sign up for postcarding, or you can go to beachesactivistsplural.com.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Alrighty. So I have been doing texting for Donna and also for BAM. So postcarding is a lot slower than the texting. It takes about an hour to contact about 25 people with a postcard, because it's really the personal touch, which is probably what makes it very effective. So we do it monthly, and like Hank said, we used to meet at Panera, and it was a lot of fun in a group, chatting and writing and meeting new people. We can't really do that now, thanks to coronavirus. So it's currently more of an at-home individual activity, but you can certainly get together with a friend or two and socially distance and do it outside, which I have several of my volunteers that have done that. So we do it monthly. Like I said, we contact 700 to 800 people, or we do that many postcards each time. We get our targeted list of registered Democrats from Duval Dems. The last few times has been to encourage people to sign up to vote by mail. And as we get closer to the election, that message will probably change. We do encourage the recipient to take action, and we sign it as your neighbor. So it's really like a personal touch kind of activity. Why should you postcard? There are three main reasons. The main reason is that it works. Normally with direct mail, the response is about 1%. That's probably a nationwide figure, I assume. But the Duval Dems follow up to see how many of our postcard recipients actually have signed up to vote by mail. And they found that it's 8 to 9%. So it's a very good response. And that's the main reason you should be interested in doing it, is that it works. Secondly, it can still be fun, even though not in a big group anymore, but it can still be fun if you include a friend. And you'll see in the pictures there, that's Karen and her neighbor. I don't know her neighbor's name, but she said I could show that picture. She had briefly met her neighbor, but didn't really know her that well. But when they got to talking about politics, she found out that this lady was progressive. And so she told her about the postcards, and this was back in May, they took a big chunk, several hundred, or a couple of hundred. It took a long time. So they sat together outside, and she just loved it. She said it was a great way to get to know her neighbor. So it really can be fun if you include another person in it with you. And also, if you have any older kids in your household, it's a good way to engage them in the political process as well. And lastly, as to why you should want to do it, it really is easy, and it's only about an hour, because we have so many volunteers that when we divide up our list that we get from the Duval Dems, it only takes about an hour. So if you're interested, please put it in the chat. I guess I'll get on the chat and give you my email. I keep a volunteer list, and what I'll do is at the beginning of the month, so in this case it'll be September, I'll be sending out an email to everybody on my list to see who's interested, and then we'll divide up the names, and I'll put little kits together, and I can either deliver them or you pick them up, and it'll have the postcards, the stamps, and your list of recipients. And then you put everything together and stamp them and mail them and let me know you mailed them. And that's it.
Hey, Brenda, how many total overall postcards do you guys think you've done?
Well, Elizabeth might know better than me. Since I've been sort of in charge of it, we do 700 to 800 each time, and we've probably done it, what, 5 times, Elizabeth? No, yep. Maybe 10 times with me, going back to last year. Could it be 8,000, 6,000?
Yes.
So let's do the math here for a second. Let's just use 10%. The Duval Dems say 8 to 9% effective rate.
Right.
Let's say we've sent out 9 8,000 and we've gotten a 10%, that's 900 people that have registered to vote by mail that wouldn't have otherwise. And thinking of the other data points, that's 500 people that are probably going to vote that would not have voted otherwise.
Wow.
And 500, it's on the margins here, and we've got days and weeks before the election, and postcarding is going on around the state, and so every 1,000 we send out, we're getting 100 new vote by mails, and we're getting probably 50 that would not have voted otherwise. And okay, you can say 50 may not be that much. Do you remember a couple of years ago in Virginia, one of the state legislators was a tie. And the flip of the coin in Virginia changed who held that legislative body. One vote would have swung it for Democrats to control that legislative body or Republicans. One vote.
Wow.
To control a whole state's legislative body. So when we're talking about we get 50 people every week to vote who probably would not have voted otherwise, it's not a small number. And you add that week after week, if we can do it more than once a week, it adds up. And this is what's so important. Again, think about your friends around the country. They can send postcards into Duval County. Anyway, that's postcarding. Brenda, thanks so much. And one thing, we have to buy stamps for the postcards. And so another benefit to postcarding is we're supporting the post office, which as we're all aware, needs all the support we can get.
Yes.
And additionally, the postcarding and some of the other things we've talked about does cost BAM money. And we know we've paid our membership dues, but don't forget that we're not meeting in public, so we're not passing the hat. But if you have a little extra, don't hesitate to think about, as you donate perhaps to candidates, to supporting our efforts. The Zoom we're paying for stamps for postcards, etc. Don't forget to think about donating to BAM as well. So, social media, you can love it, you can hate it, but it's a factor. And Carol's going to tell us all about how you can get involved in social media. Remember, you can sign up for postcarding on the chat box and let Brenda know that you want a postcard, and she'll get you involved. But Carol, tell us about how we can deal with social media.
Great, thanks, Hank, and good evening, everybody. BAM now has a very active Facebook page, as well as Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts, and even our own YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked out what we have going on in the social media, I would encourage you to check it out. I don't think I need to remind everyone that at the last election, the social media was used to really shape the outcome of the election. So while I think a lot of people may be uneasy with maybe Facebook, it's certainly worth our investment of time and effort. We did our first boosted post to talk about early voting at the beach, and have gotten some great results. But even if you're uneasy with Facebook and using social media, we can use the good old forward way of the action alerts and the emails that Elizabeth sends out to make sure that they're being distributed to our own network. So check us out and join us if you're comfortable doing social media. We're having a good time. We have a lot of really fun things being posted and a lot of vital information. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Carol. And good and evil can certainly happen on social media. We're there to be good. We're there to help spread the messages about Joe and Kamala, about Donna, about Joshua, about how to vote by mail, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot that we can all do to help through social media. So I don't know, Elizabeth, if we have questions, and while you're looking to see if we have questions that have come in through the chat, we do have an action event, I believe next Friday. We're going to be doing a Biden event on the corner of A1A and Atlantic Boulevard. Is that accurate?
Well, third and Atlantic.
Yeah, 3rd and Atlantic. And what time is that next Friday?
It's 4 to 6 next Friday. It's sort of, this is our way of celebrating what will by that time be Biden and Harris's formal nomination. Since we can't throw balloons and do the whole thing with the convention, we want to make some noise the day after they become our formal candidates. So we'll be out on the usual Atlantic and 3rd corner. Lots of signs, plenty of masks, plenty of distancing. And we've created a sign up for this just so we have a sense for how many numbers. And also, so if you really would love to take part, but you're too nervous to be in a group like that, if you want to make a sign and have one of us carry it, there's a sign up for that too. So take a look on the website for that and be part of it, whether you can be there or not.
So thanks, Elizabeth. Any questions that have come in?
Actually, the only question I've seen lately is somebody asking for everyone who isn't the speaker to please mute themselves because we were getting a little bit of radio backup. I apologize to anyone I inadvertently or who didn't know I stifled them, but I think I've got all of that turned off now.
So again, a reminder, according to Republicans, we're in the most important county, in the most important state, in the most important election in our century. That's their view. We know that to be true, actually. And so I look to all of us to not only do what we can, and we've certainly provided some options, but reach out. You know, I can't remember who it was now, the neighbor that they got involved in the postcarding. Look on your street. Where are their Biden signs? Where are their Donna signs? What can you do to get to strike up a conversation and see if they've gone so far as to get a sign and put it in their yard? If they've done that, they want to do more, and they may just not know how or where or when. And you can be the conduit to get them to understand how they can get involved. They put the yard sign in. They've made a commitment. Take that commitment to the next level. They want to do something. They've done something already, but they don't know about BAM perhaps. And again, friends, relatives out of the state, you know, do the texting or phone banking, and then find out how easy it is so that when you talk to your friend or relative in Texas or California or wherever it may be, you can explain how easy and fun it is and how simple it is. And so let's take BAM and expand our influence, expand the impact we can have, and expand the army that BAM is into a bigger army to do great things for the candidates that we know will make America better, that we know will help to work to rescue the soul of our nation. We need us. We need us to go to our friends and family, and we need to make sure that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are in the White House as a starting point, and let the Democrats reign below them, filling the House and the Senate, both nationally and in the states, and especially here in Florida. So I thank you guys for joining us today. I think
No,
what?
wait.
Oh,
Wait, there's more.
there's more. Oh, Elizabeth, you have some things. I'm sorry. Yes, Elizabeth. Next to Judy, the two hardest working women in politics, take it away.
Sorry to interrupt. It was such a good wind up. You're going to have to do it again. Okay, I'm here. This truly is the last volunteer thing, but there's been so much talk about vote by mail, and I just want everyone on this call and everyone involved in BAM to be incredibly proud of the work this group and our colleagues in the First Coast Coalition have done. And BAM has done really over the last 4 years in voter registration and signing people up for vote by mail. I was on a call last Sunday looking at some of the numbers. And when we started our work with that fun kickoff back in January, there were about 10% of the Democrats in Duval were registered for vote by mail. As of last Sunday, more than 36,000 additional Democrats have signed up for vote by mail. That means a quarter, roughly, of the Democrats in Duval are now able to vote by mail, and the numbers are still rising. That's an increase of more than 150%. And though COVID has something to do with that, when you look at the numbers of increase on the independent side, we dwarfed them significantly, and that's because of the work of all the people that have been doing all the work. So it's a very hopeful sign for November, especially with he who will not be named doing his best to depress the Republican vote by mail. But now we need to be sure all those votes get counted. And so this last thing has to do with voter protection. And Duval Democratic has organized a voter protection team that has two primary jobs we need volunteers for. One is poll watching, which I'm sure many people on this call have done. And one is what I'm calling, it doesn't have a catchy name yet from them, but ballot advocates, where we work with people from home, people whose ballots have been rejected, in order to get them counted. It's, I did the training for both of these last week, which you do online. And if you're worried about making sure this election isn't stolen after we win it, this is a wonderful place to get busy. As far as poll watching goes, I realize many people are going to think COVID has put sitting in a polling place all day off limits for them. The supervisor of elections is trying to make our polling places safe. And so poll workers are all required to wear masks. They're providing spare masks for people who don't bring them. And the work of a poll watcher is explicitly not to engage with the people who are voting. So socially distancing is pretty plausible. But you'll decide for yourself whether this is of interest. If you've never done it, in a normal year, a poll watcher gets to the polls before they open at 7 o'clock and is there all day until after they close at 7. And that's a solid more than 12-hour day. This year, knowing how squirrely everyone is about being indoors, the party is delighted to take anyone who is willing to do even a 4, 6, 8-hour shift. And ideally, again, poll watchers from both parties are there, and their job is just basically to be sure that the rules that guarantee fair elections are followed, to be sure that voters are treated very neutrally, to be sure if a challenge arises that it's a legitimate challenge, and to be sure if they see something that seems to violate election law, they have a lawyer on call and they call them. There are no special skills required. The Zoom training is excellent, takes about an hour, and you leave it with a solid checklist of what you need to do. So if you're interested at all, I would recommend taking the training and then deciding what your comfort level is with wanting to be there. On the other hand, if you know that spending even an hour in a public place is not something you're going to do this fall, then please consider being a ballot advocate. This work is done exclusively from home. You're on phone and email, and the process you go through is what's called curing a bad ballot. So the way it works, the day after the election, the supervisor of elections has to create and issue a list of all the votes, all the voters whose ballots have been rejected and the reasons why. The supervisor has to, by law, contact those voters and tell them their votes weren't counted and how to fix it. At that point, their job is over. The Democratic Party, and presumably the Republicans, but we won't worry about them, will get those same lists. And in this case, the party will divide it up among the crew of volunteers like us, and we would follow up with every single rejected Democrat to try to get their vote counted. It's a pretty simple matter. They generally need to sign an affidavit to say they are who they said they were, and they have to send a copy of one of a dozen or more forms of identification that prove that they are who they said they were, and that's it. The problem with vote curing is that it's very time sensitive because the legal deadline for curing rejected ballots is 5 p.m. 2 days after the election. So the list is issued on the Wednesday after election day, and by 5 o'clock Thursday night, the party's over. So it's a very intense outreach moment to reach people, to help them figure out how to get a copy of an affidavit. These are, you know, they're online, but what if you don't have a printer? I don't have how do I send it? But these are solvable problems, and having a hand holder makes them much more likely to be solved. All that has to happen is these two forms, 2 pieces of paper, have to get to the supervisor's office by 5 p.m. on Thursday, either by fax, by handing in, or they can even be emailed. So the more hands we have helping, the more votes we can get counted. The link to sign up for this, it's done for the primary. They've got everybody they can use, but they know they're going to need a lot more for the general. So it's on the Get Involved page on the website, and you can also put your name in the box and let me know. Someone is asking me if you have to be a Duval resident to be an advocate in Duval. I do not believe so, but I'll check on that and confirm that with you. That's it.
What happens if you're on parole? Can you be one of those?
Very funny.
Too soon, Hank. Too soon. Too soon.
Uh-oh, oops. Yes, too soon. All right, well, thank you, Elizabeth. And you know, the importance of what she just covered can't be overstated. We remember that a Republican won the White House by winning Florida by less than 600 votes. 600 votes in this state changed whether Al Gore would be president or George Bush would be president. And the difference that had in our country and in the world is not insignificant. And so our ability to get those votes counted, really important. So Elizabeth, thanks for taking that training. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I've already given my wrap-ups, so I don't think we need that again, but look for those Biden-Donna signs and engage those neighbors and get them to our Get Involved page, and we'll get them to work and get them to get Joe and Kamala and Donna and Joshua in the right seats. Thanks, everyone, and we'll be second Thursday next month. We've got, I believe, 3 lawyers who are going to spill some beans on JEA and the school board vote, or school board funding. It's going to be an interesting meeting next August, next month, I believe. So we'll see you then. And between now and then, let's text, let's social media, let's phone bank, let's postcard, and let's have fun doing it. Thanks so much.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Great.
Thank you.
Best. Thank you.